All right, ready to dive into something kind of cool that might just change how you work.
Oh, I like cool. Let's do it.
We're talking Kanban today. Cracking open essential Kanban Condensed.
Love that book. So good.
And trust me, this isn't just about, sticky notes and to-do lists.
No way. It's about bringing this whole new level of efficiency, clarity to any kind of knowledge work, really.
Right. That's what has me intrigued, like from coding to creative projects.
Oh, yeah. Even just like organizing your day,
So for those hearing about Kanban maybe for the first time, how would you sum up what it's really all about?
Okay, imagine this. Instead of feeling like you're buried under a million things, a million tasks, you have this clear visual map
Okay.
of everything that needs to get done, who's handling what, and where those bottlenecks are.
I like it.
That's the essence, making your work visible so you can optimize that whole flow.
Okay, I'm already feeling calmer just picturing that.
Right.
It's like trading in that overwhelming to-do list for a more, dynamic system.
Yeah, totally.
And the book really emphasizes that visual aspect of Kanban, right?
Absolutely. Visualizing your work, it's key.
Yeah.
But it's not just about, aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding how work moves. Like through your system, from the moment, from when a request is made all the way to when it's delivered.
Okay, that makes sense. The book also spends a lot of time talking about the values, right, that underpin Kanban.
Yeah.
It's not just a method, it's almost a philosophy, wouldn't you say?
It absolutely is.
Mm.
It's about working, smarter, not harder, and creating that more sustainable and fulfilling work environment for everybody.
I love that. Respect is at the core.
Yeah.
Respect for individuals, their time, their contribution.
And collaboration, that continuous pursuit of improvement.
Yes. That resonates so much, especially in today's world. Everybody is trying to do more with less.
For sure.
But it often feels like we're just running on a hamster wheel.
It's very easy to feel that way.
So that's where those three core agendas come in, right? Sustainability, service orientation, and survivability.
That's right.
Three big ideas. Let's break those down just a little bit.
Okay.
What does sustainability even look like in the context of Kanban?
So sustainability, think about finding a pace of work that you can maintain, but over the long haul. It's about avoiding burnout and making sure that you're delivering that, consistent quality.
Okay.
Think of it like building a system that supports your well-being as an individual, but also the health of the entire team.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Right. And that leads us to that service orientation piece. What's the key takeaway there?
Okay. So with service orientation, we shift that focus to the customer.
Okay.
It's about understanding what their needs are, what their expectations are, and then exceeding them whenever possible. Ultimately, happy customers are the goal.
Happy customers, happy life, right?
Right, and Kanban gives you that framework.
Go. It's about aligning your work with what really matters, delivering that value.
Yes.
And finally, survivability. That sounds kind of intense.
It sounds very dramatic, right?
A little bit.
But think about it. In today's world, everything changes so rapidly.
Yeah.
Organizations need to be able to adapt. They have to be adaptable to thrive. So Kanban's focus on continuous improvement, responding to change. That's what helps you kind of stay ahead of the curve and weather any storm.
So it's about building resilience into your workflow, being able to, pivot and adapt.
Yes.
When the unexpected happens, and the unexpected always happens.
Always.
I can see how that would be crucial.
Yeah.
Now, the book lays out 6 foundational principles.
Okay.
And they're divided into these 2 categories, right? Change management and service delivery.
Yes.
What's the significance of that distinction?
Oh, that's a great observation.
Yeah.
It really highlights that doing Kanban well, it isn't just about the practicalities of managing work.
Mm-hmm.
It's also about managing change within an organization.
It's that human element again.
Always.
Right. You've got to recognize that people are at the heart of any successful system.
Yeah, they're at the center. So those change management principles emphasize starting with what you already have, starting with your existing processes and evolving them, but you're doing it gradually.
Yeah.
Rather than forcing this huge complete overhaul, right?
Right.
That just minimizes that resistance that naturally happens.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for everyone to embrace a new way of working.
It's about meeting people where they are.
Exactly.
And bringing them along on the journey.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Now, on the service delivery side, we're talking about understanding your customer's needs, right? Managing the work in a way that's efficient. And then empowering individuals to self-organize around that work.
That self-organization piece is really interesting. It
Yeah.
sounds like Kanban is all about giving individuals more autonomy, more ownership over their work, right?
You hit the nail on the head. When people feel empowered to manage their own workloads, make those decisions, they're more engaged, they're more productive, and they're more likely to deliver exceptional results.
Because it's their thing, right?
Yeah.
If you have ownership, you're more invested in the outcome.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things I find most fascinating about this whole thing, it's visual.
Yes.
Kanban is visual.
Visualization is so powerful. It makes the work tangible, it makes it transparent, and it just makes it easier to manage.
I was so drawn to the book's description of the Kanban realm.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's a fantastic example of how far you can take visual management. Imagine a room, an entire room,
Yeah.
transformed into a dynamic, three-dimensional Kanban board, so teams can visualize every single aspect of their workflow.
That's taking it to a whole new level.
Yes.
I love how it just encourages that creativity,
Yeah.
breaks free from the limitations of the whiteboard.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of this. It's not about these rigid rules.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for your team in your context.
It's about you.
There's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to visualizing work.
So we've talked about visualizing the work, but what about limiting how much we take on at once?
Yeah.
The book mentions this whole concept of work in progress limits. Can you elaborate on that a bit? Work in progress limits.
Those sound like my kind of limits, to be honest.
Right.
I know I'm guilty of trying to juggle way too many things at once.
Yeah.
What's the thinking there? What's behind setting these limits?
Think about it this way. How often do you feel like you're actually making progress when you're constantly switching between all these tasks?
Never. I just end up feeling scattered and way less effective.
Exactly. Context switching, it's a productivity killer. When you're trying to focus on too many things, it takes longer to do each one. The quality can suffer.
Totally.
Work in progress limits, it's about bringing that focus back.
So instead of saying yes to everything, we should be saying no more, focusing on completing those tasks before taking on new ones.
That's it. You limit how much work is in progress at any given time. You create what's called this pull system, where new work is only started when there's capacity. So you reduce bottlenecks, improve efficiency, and you have this more predictable workflow. That makes a lot of sense. It's about working smarter, not harder. You mentioned bottlenecks. How do we even identify those within a Kanban system?
Okay, so visualization, it's key here. When you can see your entire workflow laid out in front of you, bottlenecks, they become much easier to spot. So you ask yourself, are there any stages in this process where work just tends to pile up?
It's like that old saying, right?
Mhm.
A picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Seeing it visually makes it crystal clear.
Exactly. Once you've identified that bottleneck, you can start to figure out, okay, what's the root cause? Is it a lack of resources, maybe? Unclear instructions, something like that. But once you understand the problem, you can start to implement solutions. The book talks about something called the cost of delay, which sounds important.
It does sound important. Yeah, tell us more. What is the cost of delay?
Okay, so it's a way of quantifying the impact of delaying the completion of a task. Some tasks are more time sensitive than others, and delaying them can have a bigger impact on those overall goals.
So a high priority task that's holding up other work that would have a higher cost of delay than something that's maybe less urgent.
Exactly. Kanban helps you prioritize that work based on its value and urgency. So you're making sure those most important tasks are tackled first. And by making your policies for prioritization really clear and transparent, everyone's always on the same page. Everyone knows the rules.
I like that. That transparency seems super crucial, especially when we're talking about collaboration.
Absolutely, because when everybody understands how decisions are made and work is prioritized, it just builds that sense of trust and that shared understanding, which is essential for any team to function at their best. And to enhance that collaboration, Kanban really encourages those regular feedback loops.
Yes, I love this.
The book refers to them as cadences.
Okay, so these cadences, it's like a regular check-in, right? To make sure everything is on track, to identify any areas for improvement.
That's it. They provide that structure, that way to reflect on your work, celebrate those successes, but also address any challenges and ensure everyone is moving in the right direction.
The book mentions a few different types of cadences. Are they all equally important, or are there some that are more essential than others?
Okay, so they all have their own value, but some are more crucial, especially when you're first implementing this whole Kanban thing. For instance, the daily Kanban meeting, a super quick check-in to discuss hey, what progress has been made, what are those blockers, and maybe readjust those tasks. Just that can be a game changer for keeping everyone in sync.
Oh, for sure.
But on a higher level, the service delivery review, that helps make sure your team is delivering that value efficiently, effectively, addressing not just the what, but the how.
So it's about finding that right rhythm for your team, right?
Yeah.
Adapting that cadence framework to really fit those specific needs and context.
Yes. And remember, Kanban is evolution, not revolution. It's that continuous improvement. It's not this rigid adherence to a set of rules, right? So we've talked about applying Kanban at a team level, but how does this all scale to those larger organizations?
That's a great question. And the book really dives into something called scaling Kanban. I have to admit, the idea of scaling anything work-related makes me a little nervous.
I feel ya. But it doesn't have to be daunting. The book breaks it down into 3 dimensions: width, height, and depth.
Okay.
Think about like building a skyscraper. You need to consider all 3 to create a structure that's expansive and stable.
I like that analogy. Okay, so walk us through it. What does each dimension of scaling Kanban really involve?
Okay, so width-wise growth. That means expanding Kanban across the entire value stream of your work. So instead of just focusing on like one department or one team, you're looking at the entire flow of work from that initial request to the final delivery.
So you're connecting all the dots, creating this more holistic view of how work gets done across that entire organization.
Exactly. And that can lead to some really powerful insights and improvements. Then you have that height-wise growth, which is basically applying these Kanban principles to different levels of the organization.
So you could use it to manage your own personal to-do list, your team's tasks, and even like company-wide initiatives.
Absolutely. The same principles of visualization, limiting work in progress, and managing that flow, they apply at all levels, even though that specific implementation is going to look different.
That's really interesting. It's like a fractal, the same patterns, but at all these different scales.
I like that. You've got a knack for this. Okay, and finally, there's that depth-wise growth, which involves connecting multiple services and systems within the organization. This is where Kanban can really start to break down those silos and create this more integrated and collaborative workplace.
Which is essential these days, right?
Oh, yeah.
Collaboration and cross-functionality, they're more important than ever.
Yeah.
One of the things I've always struggled with is like accurate project estimation. It feels like more of an art than a science sometimes. Right.
Does Kanban offer any solutions in this area?
It does. One of the really powerful things about using a Kanban system is that it enables something called probabilistic forecasting.
Probabilistic forecasting?
Yeah.
That sounds intriguing, but a little intimidating. What does that involve?
Okay. It's actually much simpler than it sounds. Instead of relying on just guesswork or intuition, probabilistic forecasting uses data from your Kanban system, your actual performance history, to make those more accurate predictions about what those future outcomes might look like.
Oh, so you're using past performance to predict those future outcomes. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. It's about making those data-driven decisions rather than relying on gut feelings.
I like it.
And the more data you collect in that system, the more accurate your forecasts become.
It's like having a crystal ball, but one that's grounded in real data.
Right.
Now, we know there are not any like hard and fast rules about job titles in Kanban, right?
Yeah.
It's more about those principles than the hierarchy.
Yeah. But the book does mention 2 key roles that commonly emerge: the service request manager and the service delivery manager.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about those roles and how they kind of contribute to a successful Kanban system? So we've got someone who's bringing work into the system.
Yeah.
And then someone who's making sure it flows smoothly to completion.
Yeah.
That sounds like a solid partnership.
It is.
Yeah.
Think of the service request manager as like the voice of the customer.
Okay.
They're the ones who really understand those customer needs.
Okay.
They're prioritizing those requests, making sure that the right work is selected and then initiated.
They're like the gatekeepers, right?
Yes.
Making sure the system isn't overloaded with a bunch of unnecessary work.
Exactly. And then on the other side, you have that service delivery manager.
Okay.
Who is all about keeping that workflow moving, removing those impediments, and just making sure that that work is completed,
Yeah.
efficiently, effectively.
So they're the ones constantly monitoring, right? Identifying those bottlenecks.
Yes.
Finding ways to optimize that flow.
They're like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure all those parts are working together.
I love that. This is all making so much sense. But I imagine there are some common pitfalls that people fall into when they are first, implementing Kanban. Are there any red flags to watch out for?
Sure.
Yeah.
The book actually addresses this with the concept of proto-Kanban.
Proto-Kanban. Is that like a beta version of Kanban?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they have the visual board, right?
Okay.
But maybe they haven't quite grasped the whole concept of work in progress limits.
Yeah.
Limiting how many tasks are being worked on at once so you don't run into those bottlenecks.
Right.
So they're dipping their toes in, but there's so much more.
Yeah, there's always more.
Right.
Think about your own workflow. How often do you have like 10 things going at once?
All the time.
Yeah.
Right.
All the time.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is.
And to kind of help you figure out where you are in your Kanban journey, the book talks about this thing called the Kanban litmus test.
Okay.
It's like this checklist
I like it.
to see if, your management style, how you interact with clients, if your business model even truly embody that Kanban philosophy, or if it's just surface level.
Interesting. So it's about walking the walk, right? Not just talking the talk.
Exactly. And that constant striving for improvement, that's really where the power is. It's not about reaching some perfect end state. It's about that continuous evolution.
I love that. You wouldn't think a method that was designed for factories would apply so well to knowledge work.
Right.
But it makes total sense.
It does. It all comes down to how do you optimize how work flows? And that's relevant no matter what you do. And the book doesn't just leave you hanging.
No.
There are so many resources to keep learning. Case studies, training programs. There's even a whole section on how Kanban links back to lean manufacturing and systems thinking.
Sounds like there's a whole rabbit hole to explore.
There is.
But unlike a real rabbit hole, this one leads to greater efficiency.
Yes.
I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as you go down that rabbit hole, just remember, adapt, adapt, adapt.
Right.
What works for one team might not work for another.
Totally.
So take those principles and make them your own.
Yes. Find that perfect fit for your own unique workflow.
Yes.
It's a continuous journey
It is.
of discovery and improvement.
Love it.
This was so eye-opening. I'm so glad we did this.
Me too.
So if you're feeling bogged down, if those projects feel chaotic, or maybe you just want to work a little bit smarter, not harder,
Right.
Kanban might be the answer you've been searching for,
That's a powerful tool.
waiting to be put into action.
Yes.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights
Yes.
to implement in your own work.
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy optimizing.
Bye.